Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner Studio, and with me today is Miles Adkins. Miles is running for the school board in Frederick County in the Shawnee district. Miles, welcome to the Royal Examiner. Well, we've been having a lot of Frederick County candidates in here this year. I guess Royal Examiner is encroaching into Frederick County a little bit. I guess we must have a lot of readers there. Well, Miles, the first question we ask school board members is, why in the world do you want to be on the school board?
Well, Mike, thank you for having me, first of all. I joined the Marine Corps right after 9/11 because I felt the nation calling. With a lot of stuff and a lot of the new programs that are being taught in the schools isn't what a lot of the parents want. And I felt that same kind of calling to, go do service for the community and for the country.
Well, that's good because a lot of people need to do that and step up. And it seems like this particular year, we've had a lot of people, not just in Frederick County, but in Warren County, also step up to the cause because of all the things that are coming down from the feds and from the state as well. I'm sure you're seeing some of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Take, for instance, 9/11. We just had the 20th anniversary of it. The Virginia Department of Education is teaching it a little bit different, And, I've brought that up. I put that out on my social media page. And it's just not factual, and it dishonors the people who ran into those towers to go save lives. The 20 years of military lives and sacrifices that we've put forward, and it's just a disgrace on history. I'm all about teaching history, not rewriting it.
Right, we've done that already. If you go back and you look at how history was handled with even as early as the Vietnam War, where does our world history or our American history start? It doesn't start back at the in the 1700s or the 1600s. It just kind of starts wherever it changes.
That's right.
And whoever's in charge kind of decides what the history is going to be and what they decide to teach.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a lot different than when I was in school. Of course, now that was a long time ago, but we'll do that. What are some of the issues that say different? Because there's several candidates running for school board. So where do you stand on some of these things?
So, I'm running against two other folks. My big thing is, I want transparency in the budget. We want to see where the tax dollars are going. We want to see actually what the children are being taught. For 3 years, we were told CRT wasn't being taught in our schools. Well, it's not. The applied principles of CRT.
They're calling it something else?
Of course, they're calling it equity, but it rose by any other name, right?
Right.
So what they're doing is they're going ahead and they are using that as applied principles to teach in our schools. Unfortunately, the Virginia Department of Education is pushing that, and the teachers now are being evaluated upon that statewide. So what we're going to do is, as a county, we want to stand up against that. I was one of the leaders pushing for the parental choice on the mask mandate. Mm-hmm. Over in our county, we had a 4-3 decision where we voted to have that parental choice. 2 days later, the health department for Virginia came out and made our school board reverse their decision. Now that's unfortunate because that was pushed by Dr. Savine, and it's just one of those things where we need to have people held accountable, and the way you do that was with transparency in the budget. One of the things that we've also had, speaking of that budget, is our tax dollars. Where are they going and what's it's being spent on? I have a lady across the street from me. She's got 2 special needs children, and their teacher just left to go to Loudoun County. Now, obviously we can't pay them as much as they do over there, unfortunately.
We hear that everywhere, though.
Right.
Loudoun County hears that, I'm sure.
I'm sure, it's a great recruiting tool for them. But yet we've just given our superintendent, Dr. Savine, a $200,000 bonus on his 4-year contract. So that's extra $50,000 a year, which comes out to over $300,000 a year when you take in his salary and all of his benefits, his free car. Well, it isn't free. We're paying for it.
Sure.
So transparency in the budget. I want to fight back against CRT. Let the kids be kids. Let's learn reading, writing, math, science, the stuff that is important. Stuff that's going to get those kids a job later on in life. I also want to go ahead, and we just had a middle school that had a girls' bathroom put in, and unfortunately, they put urinals in there. Now, I don't know any of the young ladies out there that know how to use a urinal or really what it is, but they said, well, it's for visiting athletic teams for the boys to go use that. Well, in my house and, when I was growing up playing football, baseball, and wrestling, I've never had to use a urinal. I never needed a need for a urinal.
Right.
So why are we having it there? I mean, that takes away from those young ladies being able to use that restroom during school hours. It invites, a lot of, let's just say, mischief in there. I'd really hate to see some kind of sexual abuse or sexual assault in those bathrooms, and we're just inviting that. I mean, think about the liability the schools are going to have to pay, or the tax dollars that's going to have to pay for that. Not to mention the trauma to that child.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned earlier about the mask and the mandates, but regardless of what the issue it is, it seems like if the school boards are going to push back or come up with some of their own presentation, it seems like as soon as they got a little pushback, because the governor came out just 2 days before and said it's going to be choice.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, the so-called red districts decided, well, we're going to have a choice, and we're going to go without masks. 2 days later, the state comes out and puts a mandate down. So it's almost like, I guess we'll throw it out there and see what people do, and if people go along with our idea, it'll be okay. But if they don't, then we're going to. Of course, we're going to get people say, well, it's the science. Well, it'd be kind of good if they could sell the science to the public. I think people would go along with it, but obviously they haven't done a very good job of selling that to a lot of people, let's say, like half the population. So it seems like we're divided 50-50 on this. So what are you going to do in the future? You're on the school board. And, you're going to be elected to make decisions based upon the information you hear and the information that you received because you're going to be on the other side now. You're not going to be a parent.
Right.
You're going to be representing parents. So all of a sudden, people are going to come in, we want this, this, this. You can't do it. So how are you going to make that decision?
Well, so you hit the nail on the head. I'd be a elected representative, right? I'm not going to go out and push my own thoughts and beliefs. I'd have to listen to constituents. I have to listen to those who voted to put me into that spot. It's not my job to go out and listen to so-called science that changes every other day. I have to, be that representative and go along with what those parents want, whether it's, left or right, that majority rules that we are a representative democracy.
Well, they do hire you, though, to make good decisions.
Right, 100%. 100%.
You're going to get rich on the school board.
No, I don't even, I think the stipend is like $5,200 or something like that.
Oh, they even have a stipend.
Yeah, we do get a little bit of a stipend, but, not going to get rich off of it, can't quit my day job.
Well, it sounds like your superintendent can afford to give a little bit there.
Well, if they would just keep that money to keep some of these special needs teachers or hire the bus drivers across the country.
That's right, Warren County. We need bus drivers in Warren County. We need them everywhere. I'm looking on the national news, and it seems like across the country that bus drivers, substitute teachers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, teachers are, and what's funny, we were at the last school board meeting, and Mondays and Fridays, we need a lot more substitutes. So our teachers seem to be taking off on Mondays and Fridays. So I guess they want long weekends, but they have the days off, they can do it. But it just puts a burden on our school system and parents and businesses. It does trickle down.
It really does, and that's one of the things with that transparency in the budget that I kind of want to look at. We become a training ground necessarily for bus drivers wanting to obtain a CDL, move on to bigger and better things, and I get that. I totally do. It's a great stepping stone, right? But is there some way that we can put in contracts where we keep them or give it incentives to keep those drivers, in the seats of those buses, or, for special needs teachers, we'll take your general teacher and we'll put them through school, and they'll get that special education certificate, and now they're moving off somewhere else to bigger and better places.
Well, it happens to nurses and police officers and all sorts of professionals that do that because the cost of training is so much for governments.
Yeah.
And then once they're trained, other governments kind of encroach in and steal some of your products. So again, you're right. Incentives need to be made to, first of all, if you hire the right person to begin with, typically someone is going to stick around, if you have the right hire. A lot of times they just hire bodies because they need bodies.
Right. And I mean, unfortunately, are we doing the best for our kids when we're just putting anybody into a seat? It comes down to, I love how the business model and capitalism works, because we want to put the best people in the right places, right? So if we can provide those incentives, we can look at our budget, reorganize some stuff, trim the fat, so to say. Then maybe we can keep some more of our great teachers. Maybe we can keep some more of our bus drivers, and keep our buses on the road. Put out a preventive maintenance program. We had a transportation building built, I think, about 8 years ago. The HVAC's already went out on it. So we're spending millions of dollars to go get that thing fixed and get a new one put up there. Thankfully, there's a little bit better of a plan in place where we're going to have some of our maintenance professionals trained on how to fix that. But why wasn't that thought about 8 years ago? Why wasn't a preventive maintenance schedule already thought about? Why are we just dumping money into the newest, shiniest things without doing a little bit of research?
Or if they only have a life of 8 years, you should be budgeting every year to have a replacement built in so that you don't have a big nut to crack at the 8th year, or the 12th year, the 15th year, whatever it is.
100%. And the problem is, if I'm running against two different candidates, right? Two other candidates. One guy, he's got a lot of political ties. And he's not even the politician. He's my farther left opponent. A lot of political ties there for the left, but you can't tell me with all that stuff he's not going to bring those kind of politics into the school. My other opponent has been in politics forever and a day. There's not a political office he doesn't like. And he just got voted out from the Board of Supervisors. Now he's coming into the school board. We haven't had too many great things happen while he's been on the Board of Supervisors in the Shawnee district. My thing is, I'm not been a politician or anything like that. But it comes down to, why do we keep electing these career politicians? Why do we keep doing that kind of stuff? Why can't we shake it up a little bit? Why can't we, have the common guy go in there and really fight for us? As a Marine, I've never been afraid of a fight, so
Exactly.
I'm coming in to shake it up and change it out a little bit. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results.
Yeah, that's the definition of insanity. That's what they say.
100%.
Well, Miles, it sounds like you got your work cut out for you. Of course, we do have early voting has started.
Yes.
And we always encourage people to vote early. That way they can't change their vote.
That's right. That's right.
But also protects your vote. No one can steal your vote if you vote early, because that blocks that thing in the record, and bang, no one's going to be able to use your name again.
Exactly. You can't have the dead people vote for you.
Yeah, if anybody's worried about any kind of fraudulent voting early does put a little level of security in there, they say.
Right. I know a lot of people were asking about election integrity. When I've been out door knocking, talking to the people, election integrity is one of the big things. Well, my thing is, they can't get caught cheating unless they're made to cheat. So let's get out there and get those votes recorded, get them down, vote early, get out to the polls, 107 Kent Street and Winchester. Get out there, vote early, and force these people to try to rig an election so we can catch them.
Sure, that's what to do. Well, again, Miles, it's going to be a busy 40-some days, I think you have left, around that, 45 days left before the election. So this is when the rubber meets the road.
Yes,
so
sir.
We hope that you get out there and get busy. You're welcome to come back as we get a little closer to the time. We'll see how your knuckles are, raw from knocking on doors.
Yes, sir.
And passing out brochures and standing in lines and And it's a lot of work to get elected, but the real work comes when you get elected. So
Yes, sir.
So we hope that all our candidates, realize that this is a real this is not easy job. It's hard, and the school board is important. It really does affect the product that we turn out in the schools. It affects future jobs. It affects future kids. It affects families. It affects the businesses. It's really probably a much larger influence than we realize, and I think we need to have the right people in there to make sure that we're making these right decisions, because you have a huge budget. If it's like Warren County, it's the biggest part of the budget.
Yes, sir.
That we do, and it's probably the most employees. It's the biggest employer that we have too, and I don't think people realize how many employees the school systems employ. That's a lot.
It's a major part. It's depending on the county, it can attribute up to I think 60% of the budget.
Yep.
We're not that high. I think we're about 56%.
Yeah.
But it's not far off.
You got a big budget. Warren County, it's up there too, and we have 800, 900 employees, so maybe 1,000 depending on how you count them.
Right.
So it's a lot of people, and it's a big budget. So people need to keep an eye on it, and that's something that the school board be responsible for, is that budget. That's probably the single biggest thing.
Yes, sir.
Is raising the funds needed to make sure students get the education they need.
And they deserve.
And they deserve. Again, thanks again, Miles. Appreciate it. We'll hope to see you again soon.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.